Hello.
Good morning. Just me and you, huh? Oh, you just muted yourself. And I told Ken to come too. Oh, good.
Hello.
How are you?
Karen, you're on mute. I'm good. How are you?
Good.
I don't know, why do I keep going back on the mute? All right, I'm gonna share I think it's gonna be, I don't know. Did you send an email out to remind all the rest of them? So, no,
Well,
you didn't send an email out, huh?
I forgot. I'm sorry.
It's on the calendar. It's been on the calendar. Come on, people. It's so frustrating that we have to tell people 100 times,
You want me to send something out now? See if I.
No, I don't care, whatever. Why can't I do share?
There you go.
.lib admit. I got more people.
Oh, good.
I can't see now. I have to make somebody a co-host, I think.
You can change your option so you can see the people too with the little box that has one slash two, or if you click on like the one with multiple horizontal lines, then you should be able to see the people too.
I see people on the side, but I can't see the button where to put people in now. Laura, I'm just gonna make you a co-host. Is that okay?
Yeah. You have a waiting room? You don't have a waiting room.
I don't think so.
No, you don't. I got right in. But yeah, that's fine. Go ahead if you need anything. I'm happy to help you.
Just in case.
Yeah.
Are there more people? I don't.
No.
Because I thought I heard the bell ring again.
No, there's no waiting room. So.
Okay, they should just come in.
Tiana just got on.
No, but I have to admit them. Hi. When
No, you don't. I got right in. No, you.
Oh, I thought I hit the admit.
Oh, okay. Go ahead, make me co-host.
I did already.
Okay. I don't see anybody in the waiting room, so.
Okie dokie. So we're gonna go over so since we're just such a small amount of people here, for you and Ken, we went over Ken wasn't on last time. We went over the buyer forms. Do we want to go over the seller? What do you want me to do, Lori?
You know what? I don't care. Whatever. We just came to listen and learn something. I actually tried to get on your class last time and it never started. Whatever the link was on the calendar maybe wasn't right.
No, we had to cancel the last class because we had a meeting. I don't remember. Sue, what meeting did we overlap with? The ALC meeting overlapped.
So
Liz changed it to 10 o'clock instead of 11 o'clock. So next time she's got it at 11, so it doesn't overlap. Because I want to keep this consistent so that people just know to come on.
The last time I was on, we went through all the buyer forms.
Yeah, so we'll do seller today. Gianna, did you have any questions in particular?
I do. I know they said for me to apply for my license, I could go through the office. So I just wanted to know who I talked to about that.
Oh, there's Carol Sasente.
So, basic question about applying for your license. There's a whole procedure. Lori, I have a whole checklist that I copied off from the Department of State. Like there's a whole lot of stuff that you need to do. Really, the office cannot do it for you. You have to, fill out forms and send them into the Department of State.
They had like two options, because I'm scheduled to take my fingerprints tomorrow.
Okay.
So they said the office could, once you pay for the fingerprints and you show your office, they said that they could put it through the website. But we'll talk about that another time.
Yeah, once you get your fingerprints, you actually get a code that has to go on the form. So it can't be sent in until after you're fingerprinted.
Right. Okay.
So no Lori, that procedure that the Department of Banking, New Jersey Department of Banking and Insurance has for people getting their license, do you have that, or do you want me to send that?
Yeah, I have all that. I did everything except for my fingerprints now.
But I'm asking Lori and Ken.
Oh, I'm sorry.
I don't have it.
I didn't hear you, Lori.
I do not have it. If you want to send that, that would be great.
Yeah, so just when people inquire, it's just like kind of directions and there's links on it that it's a live document so that they can
I can upload
actually,
it into Dotloop too.
yeah,
So, yeah, yeah, that would help because, right now I have to refer people to you for any New Jersey questions. So the more educated I get, the more I can help. And if you're not available or busy, then.
okay.
And there's also that, the variance form, right? Karen, do you have the form for if you have your New York license, you could just go take the test, but you have to fill out that form.
Yes, I think. it's-
Education waiver form.
The
yes,
waiver,
yeah.
right, the
So
waiver.
in the document that I have, it's direct, there's links all over the place for forms and whatnot.
Yeah, that's great.
So one thing I want to talk about, that we have a nice amount of people on here. So for right now, we really, as a company, did not require all of our New Jersey agents who are using New Jersey as a secondary affiliation to join the New Jersey Board of Realtors, which is, what is it called? Bergen, Greater Bergen Board of Realtors. But the problem in here lies that the forms belong to the Bergen Board of Realtors for New Jersey. So you guys, if you're not a participant, are not supposed to be using the forms that are in DocuSign because you don't belong to the board. So, I mean, we have them right now in Dotloop, which is easier, but once we get into DocuSign and all, I mean, comes next year, everyone's going to have to join the Bergen Board of Realtors as a secondary. And you don't have to pay for the full amount. In New York, what is it? It's $495. It comes out to $505, I believe. So when you join the New Jersey Board of Realtors, you're only paying for the local and state levels.
I think it was 135, we said, right? We looked it up.
I think it's a little bit more. That may be just the local level. I think there's a state level also. It's like I believe it's like 250-ish.
Okay, maybe that was Pennsylvania was 150 or.
It's a little bit more.
Okay.
And also, if you're doing business in New Jersey, it's so different than New York. And you guys really need to know what's happening and what's going on. So somebody just said to me that New Jersey is actually making realtors as essential workers. So if we're doing business in New Jersey, that may allow us to get the vaccine sooner than in New York.
And just from a professional standpoint, like you guys need to know what's going on, right?
Absolutely.
So that by being a member of the board, and I have this argument with my Pennsylvania people because I want to put in the P&G that you have to, if you're practicing in another state, you have to be a member of a board and the local board in that state. Just because you're getting the emails, you're getting information, you're getting access to updated forms. It's very difficult to do business if you're not a member of the board. The boards are valuable. I know people don't like to pay those big bills, but they provide value, and it's important to be informed.
There's free education, that they provide as well. There's just so much that is involved with it. So I think, Lori, you're right, that's something that we're going to have to talk to our ALCs about getting that put in the P&G going forward.
Well, I'm updating the P&G, so I can put it in. The ALC will have to vote on it, and so I'll go ahead and add it. And if they don't want us to do that, then they can vote it out. So
right, it's a small added expense, but it's definitely worth your while to have, and especially for the forms. I mean, when I spoke to them on the phone, like they said, they are not supposed to use the forms that they're providing if you're not a member.
Yep.
And you need those forms. Different than New York. Okay, so today we're going to go over listing forms. Okay, in the packet, there's always the basics that need to be that are in here. So you have your consumer information form, which is just like our agency form. It discusses seller's agent, buyer's agent, disclose dual agency. They have more of transaction brokers in New Jersey, although I've been seeing less and less lately. So a transaction broker, do you guys all know what that is? Does anybody want to talk about it?
They just provide services to create a transaction from start to finish, but they don't represent in a fiduciary capacity either side.
Correct. So with that, they don't do open houses, all of your negotiations as far as putting in offers are done directly with the sellers. Okay, so again, you're just going to scroll down to the bottom, whether you're representing buyer or seller or tenant or landlord, you have them sign. We added additional signature fields that was requested because usually there's 2 sellers. So there's additional signature fields here. And make sure, just like in New York, you're better off checking off whether you're a seller's agent and disclose dual agent if the opportunity arises. And the same thing for the buyer's agent. I would only check these off when you're starting a relationship, because we have more and more agents now selling in New Jersey, and you may run into the dual agency situation more often. So who knows what puts us in a dual agency situation? There's a couple of reasons, couple of different scenarios that would put us in dual agency. Who can enlighten me?
Is it different in New Jersey or it's all the same?
Same. Come on,
What did
guys.
you say? I didn't hear what you asked.
So I'm asking what situations, what scenarios would put us in dual agency in New Jersey? Or
When
New
you're
York?
selling both sides and when you're selling something that's in your same company as well.
Right. So if somebody from our company has a listing and you're showing that listing, that automatically, whether in New York or New Jersey, that automatically puts you in a dual agency situation.
Is it just our brokerage or any Keller Williams?
It's just our brokerage. Okay, other Keller Williams, we're not associated, we have no affiliate, we're affiliated with them, but not in that capacity.
Just checking.
Okay. In New York, it's much more likely to happen right now than in New Jersey, but we're doing quite a bit of business in New Jersey now. Does anybody have any other questions about this form? There's a dual agency form, just like in New York, which also needs to be filled out, which speaks specifically about dual agency. And did we say it? Lori, we have to put these 2 together. Okay, so this is informed consent to dual agency. This one is, we're in a seller folder. So this one says seller. There's one for the buyers as well. And this goes through what it means to be in dual agency. Again, they're going to sign the name of licensee. So New Jersey is very big on putting your information in, more so than in New York. They want the name of your firm and your name in here, and your sellers will then sign. You have to put the brokerage information in. They, again, are very big on the brokerage. So you have to most times even have our brokerage license number. And we're going to go.
Karen, I have a question.
Go ahead.
It's Carol. So this New Jersey dual agency seller, there is also a New Jersey dual agency buyer form
Correct.
that is separate from the other thing, so we have to have both of those things signed?
Just like in New York, we have a 5-page document because we added 2 documents together.
Right. But in the New Jersey forms, it's 2 separate things, correct?
We're
This
gonna-
is an additional.
We're going to combine them.
Oh, they are
it's-
going to be
It's
combined.
2 separate, just like it is in New York. We just put them in the same folder. So
Right.
we're going to put these in the same folder as well, because you should
Great.
just get both signed right from the get-go.
Okay.
Okay? Lori, can you do that? Did I lose Lori?
No, I'm here. I can do that in Dotloop. I cannot do that in DocuSign.
Right, I know.
But they're both marked required, so.
In DocuSign, can you put a note to say that, or a description saying that they need to have the dual agency form
So
signed?
do we have a New Jersey checklist just like the one in New York?
We we did do one together when you and I were on.
So we can put it on that and and also in command, the New Jersey forms, it's there as a required document. So.
Okay.
you know,
Okay. Alrighty. Okay, so I'm gonna just go in order here. This is a change form. New Jersey status change form is very similar to the New York status change form. They ask for a lot of information, all of which is readily available for you guys to get. So it tells you, you know, this is all basic information. You're putting the name, the address, the office ID, agent ID. I'm going to go over where you can get the information in a little bit. But here you're going to put whether it's changing the price, you're putting in the new price, you're putting in the date of the expiration. You're just basically filling out the information. You could have it changed temporarily off the market, withdrawn permanently. The wording is a little bit different than in New York, but if you read through the form, it should be fairly simple. You can change the under contract date. So in New Jersey, this is a big deal with the under contract date and the close. They ask you when you think the property is going to close. I would put an extended date there only because you never know what happens, and they really start hounding you if the property has not closed by the date that you put in there. So just keep that in mind.
I have a question about this.
Sure.
I have I have a listing that it's under contract. I don't think I ever filled this form out.
You don't have to fill it to put it to fill this form out. This is if the under contract date is changing.
Okay.
And Karen, versus New York, what's a typical time frame for a closing? Is there, is it
Pretty much the same.
like, yeah, it takes.
So in New York, we have on or about dates, you know, which is plus or minus 30 days. In New Jersey, it's more of a tighter date. So if you put in, let's just say March 15th as the closing date, it pretty much is stays
March
pretty
15th,
close.
Yeah.
Yeah, it stays pretty close to the date that you put in there, unless there's a mutually acceptable agreement because something has happened. So I have clients who are homeless right now because they sold in New Jersey and are buying in New York. And in New York, it's a little loosey-goosey. You get that extra 30 days and the seller is taking advantage of it. And in New Jersey, they had the closing date according to what their buy date was, and they got stuck. The people said no, and that was that, and they had to get out.
And is it like 45 days an average time frame for a
Yes.
conventional loan?
Yes.
60 if it's VA or FHA?
Correct.
No.
Yep. The only thing is you have less flexibility with extending that close date if something were to arise, unless you have, you know, like I said, everybody agrees to it and there's not a problem.
This form says Garden State MLS. Is this a form that goes to either Garden State or the
New Jersey, there's one for New Jersey as well. So each MLS will have their own forms, and it should be in here, but I just pulled this one up.
And this gets uploaded to MLS?
So in New Jersey, they do not require listing forms or any of these change forms to be uploaded to the MLS. And when you're making these changes, it actually tells you, you do not have to upload these forms. But if there's a problem and they request these forms, they better be filled out and dated properly, and you're going to have to send them to them within 24 hours.
And these have to be filled out. You don't have to fill them out if it's just a regular closing date and a under contract date, or is this only if there's a change?
This is if there's a change. Yeah. Okay. Yep. You see this unanticipated closing date change here. When you initially put in an under contract, they ask you what you think the close date is going to be. Okay, and then they have another section here that if you need to change any other fields, you need to have this form filled out. Descriptions, you can go back in and change. It's not a problem. And Garden State's a little more wonkier than New Jersey MLS. New Jersey is a little bit easier to change some of these things. And then again, you have, these fields are not filled out. We're going to have to fill these fields out. put in the signature fields and text fields. I don't think anything is filled out on this one. All right, we're gonna have to add the text fields here. But the owner sign, you sign, and the brokerage has to sign. There's a lot of instances where the brokerage has to sign as well. So if you have a form that the brokerage needs to sign, you're gonna send them to Lori or myself, and we'll have it signed for you. Okay. There's a hold harmless COVID form. Whether the other agent is asking for it or not, you should still have them filled out so that you have a copy of it, because it is required in our documents if that ends up being the house. Well, for a seller, we have to, but on a buyer side, you need to have them fill out whether the listing agent is asking for the form or not. And again, they just sign, it's really kind of the same as our form. So in New Jersey, you can take a listing, kind of like our coming soon, and you can delay the showing. You don't have to start showing exactly when you put the listing up. But if you decide not to show it, you cannot show it. You know, not showing it, just like in a coming soon in New York, it means it cannot be shown. Okay, so you would put the property address, this Keller Williams Hudson Valley Realty. You're going to put your name and the listing date. You're going to fill in the delayed show, you know, just have them initial what the showing policy is for delaying the showing. You want to put in the time period and when it will actually be able to be shown. You have to put a start date and an end date. Again, the broker has to sign this, listing agent, selling agent. You'll see in a lot of listings, a new listing will come up, and sometimes they'll put it up like on a Tuesday or Wednesday, and then they'll have no showings until the open house begins on Sunday at 1 o'clock. But rest assured, they should not be showing. Sometimes I even don't read the descriptions, and I have called agents and they said, didn't you see that we're not showing until Sunday?
So do people sometimes like try to show it to their own buyers before they do? Is that what some people are trying to do? I mean, I realize it's not legal, but is that what some people are trying to do?
People always try anything. I mean, like I said, I've been guilty of calling and asking, or requesting an appointment. Sometimes the agents will block out the days. So when showing time, you can actually block out the dates. You can black them out so that people cannot make appointments. But in New Jersey, you see less people than in New York that use showing time. There's still a lot of people that do business the old-fashioned way, and they want you to call to make appointments.
So there's no particular status like a coming soon. It's just a
delayed showing.
Works that it's not able to be showed.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
Right. So this form is an interesting form. This is something that we totally shy away from in New York. So this is a seller's property condition disclosure statement, which when you're taking a listing, your seller should be filling out. We have done it so you can do it they could do it in .loop, but a lot of times they need to take their time and they like to fill this out by hand. This usually you will find in the documents section of a listing in New Jersey. When you have a buyer and you're putting in an offer, you should always look and check or ask the listing agent if they do have a property condition disclosure statement, because it does give the buyer more information than just the listing, and it may help them decide what they want to offer on a property. There's lots of questions here, talks about the heating systems, basement, water, termites, all kinds of things. Everything we stay away from in New York. Heating and air conditioning, fireplaces, electrical systems, environmental hazards. It goes on and on. And at the end, the seller signs it, but also when you're making an offer, there's a spot for the buyers to sign as well. So I said this last week, when I make an offer on a property so that they know that I'm very serious, I have the contract filled out. I have the buyers sign this property condition disclosure, and if there's a lead paint disclosure, I have them sign that and send it off to the seller with my offer as well. It shows that you know what you're doing, you know what to look for, and you are anxious to get a deal together. Okay? You guys, same scenario here. You as selling agents are not supposed to fill this out at all for them. You should not a pen or there is no part of this form that you should touch or fill out for the seller. Okay? It has to come from them.
So Michelle Donahue says she doesn't have the link. I just forwarded her the link, but I don't understand why she can't get it from the calendar.
Or the email. So
And-
Karen, just a question about that, as like in New York, can the seller refuse, excuse me, to fill that out, or is that absolutely required?
They can decide not to fill it out, but they do not have that $500 credit thing that we have.
No.
Somebody
Karen,
just-
what were the three
you-
things you said? The property condition disclosure, the seller disclosure, and what was the other thing if you're making an offer as
The
a
lead
buyer?
paint, the lead
Lead paint.
paint and the pre-approval, if the lead paint exists, and the pre-approval.
Okay,
Somebody just, let me just see just who, I don't know who that was.
Hey, Susan,
Yes.
the, I can give you the meeting ID if she wants to just click join a meeting.
Yeah, she must not have her Google Calendar synced with
Okay, So
with-
just here, I'll just write this down. It's 883
883
8788
8788.
0140. She just
She's
came.
in, she's in.
Oh, she's, yeah, I sent her the link. That's why she's
Yeah.
in.
Yeah, yeah. she just-
Okay.
She just came up.
Yep.
Okay. All
And
right.
then I told her I'll talk to her later about syncing her calendar.
Yeah.
Michelle? She's not there.
Okay, so we're gonna move on. Where are we? The property conditions. Okay, so here's the listing agreement, the actual listing agreement. So the top part of this agreement, and remember, you don't have to, we're not sending this into MLS. But this is basic information, the county, the town, they like section, lot, and block number to be filled in, the street address, the price, directions, listing date, expiration date, kind of the same as what we do, owner name, owner address, if it's different. They want the listing broker ID number, so you always have to have this information handy. The listing salesperson ID number, so that's actually your MLS ID number, different than your license number. Okay, you guys know that for each MLS, you have a different ID number, just like in New York, you have an ID number to get in.
And we have the broker information filled in for us on this form.
Yeah, if
We could,
you want to get that to me, I can put that in there.
okay, I will do that. Agency disclosure information, whether you're a seller's agent, transaction broker, compensation, going to the buyer's agent. Again, just like we do in New York, we should do this too, I guess, Lori, is put NA in the transaction agent and the sub-agents. Dual agency arrangements, dual commission agreement. So that means if you guys are going to take a reduced commission, if you also bring the buyer, has to be disclosed, has to be put in here what that, from the get-go, what that commission arrangement will be.
What if you decide after the fact?
Then they're a little stricter with this than in New York.
Mhm.
I think that you have to change it on that status change form.
Okay, or you just don't do it.
Or you just don't do it, keep your money.
And Karen, whenever we do the commission that we're offering, the buyer's agent, it's always minus 275.
Yes,
Right.
Yes. That's what we're offering out to the buyer's agent, not for ourselves.
Can you explain that? So, I'm sorry.
Sure.
So
So
when
in New Jersey, you're gonna see when you look at listings, have you looked at any listings on the MLS yet, Tiana?
no, I just passed my test last week.
Okay, so when you do, when you get ready, you're gonna see that if you look at the bottom of the listing, it tells you what the commission is, and it's always a percentage minus a dollar amount. And each office has a different dollar amount. So New Jersey MLSs charge you for each listing you put in. I believe it's a $50 fee, which Ray will pass on to you all. So this is something else, Lori, that we may have to talk about for in the P&G. It probably should be established in our P&G that we are charging $275 to the buyer's agents. And then we have to decide how that's being dispersed in the company.
Okay. so-
Okay.
Yeah. Can you
So,
stay on after the class?
yeah.
Okay.
So what happens is in every listing, it'll tell you that it's just say 2.5% minus 275. So when you go to fill out your commission bill as a buyer's agent, you have to figure out that 2.5, whatever the 2.5% is, and then actually subtract out $275 from it. So it's a little different. It makes it a little wonky in commands because you have to, it doesn't let you change that on the buy side. So that's another little issue that I've seen come up. But on the sell side, you're actually adding, when you do your commission bill, you're adding that $275 to your commission bill.
Thank you.
You're welcome. And I don't expect everybody to remember all of these things. So if you have any questions when you're doing this, and you get more involved in it, please just ask.
See if I can just put something there like $ minus 275, and then you can
Yeah.
just edit it, just add your percentage or percent minus 275 as a reminder.
Yep, that would be good.
And then, yeah.
That would be great. Okay, and then this part of it just is basic information that you have to ask about when inputting a listing. Now, I always say in New Jersey, the homes are older and they have various types of water and sewer systems in their homes. So make sure that you're very specific about asking what type of sewer systems. It could be they have a point-to-point system. It could be a septic system. They could have wells. They could have oil instead of gas. They could still have underground oil tanks that they know about. I just sold a house that the seller, we had to put it in the listing that it was an underground oil tank. And I had told the seller that they were going to have to remove it. And they kept saying, let's wait, let's see what happens. And sure enough, before a buyer would commit to the property, they wanted to know that that oil tank was going.
If the underground oil tank is being used, you don't have to, do you have to worry about that?
Yeah, because it's still, you don't know if it's leaking. So mine was being used. It was a fully operational underground oil tank, and I was really having a hard time selling this property. People they just don't, in today's day and age, they do not want an underground oil tank because if ever it does start leaking, it's a huge, huge problem.
Yeah, I don't know about New Jersey, but in New York, some of the insurance companies are not insuring homes with underground oil tanks too. So or the insurance is ridiculously high because the cost, they can be liable for some of the cost. If it
Yeah.
So
I had a listing with an underground oil tank, and the buyers were looking at a house with an underground oil tank, both in New York.
in New York. So as a buyer's agent, you should be asking the seller to remove that and at least to replace it with an above ground oil tank. In my case, the buyers paid for them to convert to gas. So we paid for the oil tank to be removed, and then the buyers paid the additional cost to have it converted to gas. So there was something else I wanted to tell you about this. Oh, so if there is a leak, so two things. In New Jersey, in the homeowner's policy, they automatically put in a rider if there is an underground oil tank, that if it is, in the removal process, if there is a spillage, that they will pay for up to, I think in, my case, the house that I was selling, it was up to $15,000, if there was spillage.
Wow.
So they were covered. So because it's so frequent in New Jersey, it's part of their insurance policy.
That's great.
Would this create a problem on a VA loan? It would, right?
It may, yep. You should ask the lender.
Karen, when you had to have that tank removed, did anybody from like, like EPA or somebody
Yes,
have to come out and monitor
absolutely.
that?
Absolutely. Yep.
Yeah, I don't,
Okay.
in New York, it goes on record, it has to be inspected, there's a whole process.
Yep.
The property becomes flagged by the DEC. Then there has to be an inspector there during the removal process. They
Yep.
have to test, it's a very big deal, and then they have to re-inspect and sign off at the end of the day. It's not something you want to wait until you're ready to close to decide. It takes some time. And if they find oil, you're screwed.
Yeah.
Then and then it's a mess. So
Yeah.
And Karen, what was the cost to remove the tank?
So we use Castleton in, so they work in Rockland and New Jersey. They are fabulous. They're neat, they're clean, they know what they're doing. They've been doing it for 100 years. I don't know about 100 years, but for a very long time. I think it was like $4,500 to remove the tank.
Oh, that's not that bad. Okay.
No, it wasn't awful, and we did not have any leakage or problems, so it was a clean removal, and the buyers were happy. They were there, we let them, witness it. They were happy that the town and the EPA were there to witness the removal of the tank. The soil was, tested, everybody was happy, and we moved on.
Thank you.
You're welcome. Okay, so,
Do that anymore. There's no more underground oil tanks like that. They don't do that, right?
they don't, no, no, they will put above ground oil tanks in, which are fine, because if they're leaking, they're leaking, you're gonna see the leak. Yes,
Okay.
yes, I would warn your sellers, Diana, that, it may come to pass that they're gonna have to remove that oil tank, and have them check their insurance policy. Because I was not aware of that until this situation.
Does that only come up if it's a mortgage, if it's a cash deal? Is that something that might not be a problem?
It might not, so so these sellers, bought the house only 4 or 5 years ago, and I am shocked that they got a mortgage and it all went through. No questions were asked. The attorneys didn't raise any questions about it. It just went through. I kind of slipped through the cracks.
wow.
Yeah, and so now they, as sellers, 5 years later, got stuck with the removal.
Yeah, I mean, in this market, because it is such a tight buyer's market, you could see a buyer, agreeing to move forward. But at the very least, if there's a mortgage company involved, they're going to want to test it.
But I couldn't sell this house was not selling. This house should have sold. I mean, I had so many, when you have so many showings, you
Yeah.
should start getting offers, and agents were calling me, and their biggest concern was the underground oil tank.
Yeah.
So-
Well, because you've heard those nightmares where there's the oil
Right,
can run the price up to, $50,000
Yep.
later, and that's just too big of a risk. So.
right. So and the buyers are kind of overpaying, at this point, we're definitely, our sale prices are up. So,
I had one in New York, and there was oil, and the cost was in upwards of $20,000, and it wasn't a big oil,
Still.
it
Mhm.
wasn't a big area, and the insurance company picked up a few grand of it, but it was over 15. I think it was about $18,000 when it was all said and done.
There's an environmental problem. It can be costly.
yep.
Okay.
Yeah, so that's the real issue. It's if there's a spill, it becomes an environmental issue.
Yeah, if there's nothing, if there's no oil in the soil, it's a couple $1,000s to.
Yeah, it was,
literally take
like I
the
said,
tank out and
$4,500
replace
and it was
like,
done.
yeah, it was like 1,800 to remove one tank and put a new one in. It's a very affordable
A
process.
new tank
If
is not that much.
What
Sorry,
was that?
A new tank is not that expensive.
No, no, it's not. No, it would have been, no. It's very reasonable. The problems come in, like, so mine ended up being like $11,000 to convert, to take the old oil tank out and to convert to gas. But that's because we converted. I think the new oil tank was, it depended upon the size of it, between $1,200 and $1,800. So I would definitely look into that. And prepare.
Karen,
your-
I have to leave. Is this being recorded? I'm so sorry.
I don't know. Can we see?
yes, it is being recorded.
I can't. see-
And where do we find the recording? Is it in the group, the Keller Williams group.com or where?
I'll post it on it'll be on the class library. I'll post it.
Okay, okay. Thank you so much, Karen. This is very informative.
You're welcome.
Bye.
Bye. Okay. So again, you're just going to continue filling out this form. First floor, second, whatever they're asking, what style of home it is, this sub-style, the taxes. So there is a tax card that you really should be calling or going to each municipality and getting the tax card, which states the number of bedrooms and bathrooms and whatnot that are on file in the house. So if they did do work that was not permitted, if they did not go get a building permit and then a CCO, they call, instead of a C of O, they call them a CCO, and they did not get that, it gives you kind of a heads up of what, may be in store for you before you're able to close. So the towns do come in and they do physical inspections. There's a fire and safety inspection that gets done by the town, to see whether there's carbon monoxide and smoke detectors in the house. So you have to it's a little bit more due diligence on your part as a listing agent that has to be done.
And Karen, how accurate are those tax records? Like I know in New York you can't always even depend on what the tax record is. So in New Jersey, are they pretty accurate, or is that?
For the most part, because they're much more diligent, like the people, the owners know that they're not supposed to do anything without getting a permit, like even changing, outlets, and like some towns are crazy with what you have to get permits for.
So I know, like, we have some owners that didn't do work, but the tax record doesn't match. Like my own house my tax record doesn't match what I actually have. It's been that way since I bought the house. It was never,
Right.
because I bought in the peak when nobody was asking questions. So
Right.
I'm just wondering if you are seeing a lot of that in New Jersey, and how much of a problem is that?
It's more of a problem in New Jersey than it is in New York.
Okay.
And it depends upon what town you're in. So Park Ridge, I've heard now that people have finished basements and they didn't get CCOs, but they don't really come out and inspect finished basements, so they're passing through. So I had buyers who was saying like, okay, that's great, but when I go to sell this in 10 years and they change that, then I'm stuck with getting the CCO for the basement. And then it always, whenever you get a CCO for something that was done a while ago, you're held to today's standards. So if code changes and, you did this they did it 20 years ago, they may have to upgrade the electrical and, really the mechanicals is what they're concerned about, and fire hazards. So it could be an issue. The more work you do in the front end of taking a listing, the better off you're going to be to get to the closing table. Okay, so this section here is really more the meat and potato of the agreement. So you're putting in here the listing date, the expiration date, the list price of the property, the possession date goes in here. I don't know if it goes on the actual listing form. I don't remember. Because you don't know when it's gonna close, so it's just kind of a general date of when the seller wants to go. This is where the broker, the seller rather, agrees to pay a brokerage fee, and this is the whole commission right here. This is whatever the entire commission is gonna be for both sides. There's another form that they have to sign. It's a specific commission form, which states what's gonna be going out to the buyer's broker. Let me just see. Okay, so here you're just putting in your name and the name of the firm that you work with and who you are in this transaction. And again, I recommend that you always check off seller's agent and disclosed agent if the opportunity arises. What is this? Okay, so this is the same thing as in New York, so that this this little paragraph here says that if you the property, the subject to a big buyer or seller is sold, conveyed, or leased, or transferred within. Okay, so this talks about you having a listing, the listing expires, they decide not to relist, they're going to wait a while because of COVID or because of the weather or whatever their reason may be. If somebody comes back that saw the house during the time that the property was listed, and decides then to buy the house, then they still owe a commission for that sale. This becomes null and void when the property is relisted by another agent and their agency. Then they're no longer obligated to you once that happens. And that's the same in New York. Okay, so here they're checking whether they want this to go on to the website and to the MLS. You're going to put in your information. Brokers have to sign this as well. Owner signatures go here, and you're going to just fill out the rest of the information. Okay, this is their fair housing form that gets attached, and it goes in detail. It explains in detail what the laws are and the penalties involved, which is great. I wish ours was like this so that people could really see what the fines are.
You had asked me to update this at one point. I did a search. I could not find a form past 2013. So if you have one, feel free to get it to me. But I looked, and this was the most recent housing discrimination
That you
form
could find. Okay. I'll see. I'll check around too. Okay. And then this is the commission form. These we put together. So I don't know in DocuSign if these forms are all together, Lori, are they?
Honestly, I don't know. I would have to log in as you to see the New Jersey forms, so.
Okay. Okay. So this, you're going to put in the MLS number, the property, the town that it's in, and this talks about what we're actually going to be paying to cooperating brokers. So this is where you would have 2%, 2.5% minus 275, or whatever the percentage is minus 275. And again, everybody has to sign this. Any questions on the listing forms? Okay. So, should I go over the commission form? So there's the co-op form. The co-op condo form is in here, which is the same thing. The lien as the other form, except it applies to a condo or co-op. There's a lien disclosure, which is, Lori, we put that in. That's our New York lien disclosure, I think.
Yeah, it's the one that's a company form, and we had obviously it's not even updated. Our New York listing agreement, we changed to include the lien disclosure, but because it doesn't have one in the New Jersey forms, we still require this additional disclosure, but I have to update it on the address and the letterhead.
So, yeah. This is our commission bill. let me, hopefully, I think this is the right one. Okay. So this has our company license number here already put in. Again, you're going to just fill in the blanks, but in the end, they want your license number. You have to fill in your license number and your name as well.
This is the form that goes to the attorney? Is that where it
Yes,
goes? Okay.
yes. And then, okay, here's our lead paint form, which looks very, very similar to our New York lead paint form. You're putting in the property address, the seller has to initial in each of the spots. They could check off whatever it is, whether they have knowledge or do not have knowledge of lead paint. And then they are signing at the end. And then the bottom half of the form is for the buyer's agent. So this form and your property condition disclosure should be uploaded to the documents section of your listing. Okay, remember I said you don't have to put the listing form, and you're going to see when you are putting in a listing, it actually tells you you do not have to upload this form. And then I'm talking about the listing form. There's the dual agency form. Okay, there's a withdrawal form. Okay, here's the New Jersey MLS forms, Diana. So it's the same. I have them both in here. Okay. Just remember, things specific to a particular MLS, they usually have their own forms. General state forms will be the same for both MLSs. I think that these are just worksheets. So there's a worksheet for residential listings. So if you're new and you need a little help remembering what they may be asking as you're inputting into the MLS, this is really good to take with you on your listing appointment so you can check things off as you go. So when you're inputting the listing, at least you have most of your basic information. Okay. Here it talks about all the different kinds of heating systems. I mean, they even have propane and solar, which is great. It's a good reminder, especially for our newer agents, as to what they should be asking. The exterior of the house, sometimes it's hard to tell whether there's wood or whether it's aluminum or vinyl. So this will remind you to ask the seller if they know what the exterior of the house is made of. Year built, they're a little bit more of going a roundabout way, or they go in decades more so than the exact date. They go into the ownership, floodplains. So
You would actually have to know the date though for lead paint, so
yes,
that's.
yes.
it's
So
important.
that's usually on the tax record.
Yeah.
Yeah, you can usually find that on the tax record. You know, you just have to go through this. I mean, this is just really good to take with you. I want to show you guys though where to find information if you don't know where to find the license numbers or your license number. Give me 1 second, let me just log in. Okay, so if you go to roster, there's this button and find a member. Just look for yourself. And it gives you all the information that you need, whether you're filling out a contract or whether you're filling out a listing form. So here it has, you know, my basic information. This is my agent code. This is for the MLS. This is my actual code for the MLS. This is my license number. And you see here, you can actually download your card, your license card, if you don't have one. New Jersey doesn't provide like a license type hard copy kind of thing. It's just a paper pocket card. Then on this side, You have Keller Williams Hudson Valley Realty. This is our MLS code. 2225 is our New Jersey MLS code.
Karen, is that the one that goes in the listing agreement?
Yes, if
Okay.
it's for New Jersey. Yep.
Good.
And then this is our license number. This is the brokerage license number. Okay. And this, if you click on it, you'll just see all the agents that belong to our MLS.
So just to clarify, it says add broker ID on the listing agreement. Is that?
So
the
that's the
2225?
2225.
Thank you.
Okay. So, if you can't remember this, I mean, it's very simple to find. And it's much easier in New Jersey MLS than it is in Garden State MLS. As far as simplicity, New Jersey MLS is much more friendly than Garden State, but not nearly as friendly as our New York MLS. Our New York MLS is so much easier.
So if we were to make an offer on a house that's listed in both, we should try to go through the New Jersey. It's because it's easier.
Yeah. Yeah. And actually, we'll do that when we do the buyers because I'm not going to have enough time. There, you can start to fill out a form right from the MLS. And maybe next class, we'll go over some of that. Yuji had asked for rental forms. I mean, is anybody doing rentals in New Jersey right now? No? I'd rather stay away from them, honestly, and stick with the buying and selling, but if the need arises, we'll do that as well. All right, so does anybody have any questions? Anything else I could go over? No? All right. Well, this was fun. We'll see you. I think we're on next week again. So we'll go through, I think, the buyer folder again next week. All
Thank
right.
you. Helpful.
Okay. Yeah, you need to see it a few times before it all starts sinking in.
I just recently had to put in 3 buyer offers, so I think I've gotten the
Yep.
buyer.
You do, you do.
None of them were accepted, unfortunately, but yeah,
To say, unfortunately, all for the same buyer, right?
yes.
You can copy them. Did you see that? Do you see that you can copy them so you're not changing like all the information?
I think so. I mean, I just sort of like changed what I had to change.
Okay. All right. All right. You'll get it. You'll get your accepted offer. Just had to do the same thing. I think we
Yeah.
put in about 6 offers, and actually we had an accepted offer, did an inspection, and then we backed out.
Well, these buyers really need to sell in order to get what they want, but yeah.
Don't forget when you are, when your buyers do have to sell something, that there is that addendum for the contingency on the sale of their house. So this just happened to me just now with these buyers I'm talking about. They are selling their home, but their offer was not contingent upon selling their home. They have enough, they were pre-approved without the sale of their property. And I sent all the paperwork in, and the attorneys just last night emailed me and said, the realtor forgot to send in the addendum for the contingency on the sale of their home. And I wrote back, I said, it's not contingent, but still, because they have a house for sale, they wanted a copy of the their home sale contract and all that. So I had to just send all that into them. So if there is something that is being sold, just make everybody aware. The seller,
That kind of seems unfair though, like, because then it makes it look like they need to sell, right? I mean,
they
if
don't, and the seller and the buyer chimed in. So, in New Jersey, everybody's in on the emails from the attorney. So it's the buyer, the seller, the listing agent. This is a for sale by owner. If I tell you this story, you guys would crack up with the whole thing. But another for sale by owner, somebody who knows everything and couldn't sell her house because she had it way overpriced, wanted to offer only a 1.5% commission out to a buyer's agent if I got them full price for the house. So we had made an offer, we went away, we made an offer on another property and did the inspection and whatnot. The inspection came back awful. So they walked away from that property. We made a couple of other offers on other houses, which we didn't get. And now we circled back to this house again. And I said to her that, we'll meet your price. But, you have to, I'm asking for a 2% commission. I said, because 1.5, I have to do work on both sides. So her answer back to me was, I need this to get moved along very quickly now because I already bought another house and I have friends. I have my brother who's in the business for 20 years in real estate, and I have 5 friends who are all real estate agents. So I said, okay, great. I said, she said, and I want to know that you're going to move this along. I said, no problem. I'm going to move it along. So that was at 7:00 at night that we came to this agreement. By 9:00 at night, I had everything signed by everyone. I had the inspection set up, and then she tells me, so I said to her, okay, we're going to schedule the inspection for today. It was going to be for today or tomorrow. And she says to me, oh, I'm going away to St. Martin for and I won't be back until Monday. So maybe you can schedule the inspection for Tuesday or Wednesday. I just started laughing. I was like, you got to love this job and what people say. So what they say is not always what they mean. And if you come across something like that, where a commission is like really ridiculous, and I do have to do more work because now I'm kind of acting, I'm helping this seller along as well. Anyway,
Get the 2%?
so we got the 2%.
Good.
I should have gone for the 2.5, but
Yeah,
I figured I was
but
pushing
they
my
don't,
luck.
they hardly give 2.5 in New Jersey.
Right, two
Yeah.
is very,
Very common. Yeah,
very normal. And this is an 875 house, so I wasn't,
right.
it
All
is what
right,
it is.
well, are you under contract? Are you pending?
I had to just get this addendum signed. Like literally last night, the attorneys were like, we need the addendum. The realtor didn't send the addendum. I'm like, you gotta be kidding me. It's not contingent. So why do I have to send this in? But I did.
Unbelievable.
Yeah. So it's definitely different in New Jersey. Different things come up. Anyway. All right. That's it for today.
All right, thank
We'll see ya.
you.
All right. Bye-bye.
Thank you.
You're welcome. Bye.
Bye.